Hello, my friends. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to a new live turning point podcast with me. Inshallah, today we are going to have my friend Sabul Khan. She's a mortgage lending officer. She's a great person. We'll learn more about her in a personal level, and then we will learn more about owning a home in the US. She helped me buy this condo in Chicago. That was her idea. So today, inshallah, I'll talk to her, we'll just chit chat with her a little bit. And of course, if you have any questions about how to own your own home, how to apply for a home loan with her or refinance in the future, Islamic refinance, please feel free to reach out to Sabul Khan. So now I'm just gonna wait for her to join us. She'll introduce herself and then we'll get started. Let's see who's following us. Where are you from, everybody? In the meantime, let's get to see who's watching us today. Today I'm wearing like Moroccan jalaba. I was like kind of lazy to get dressed up, and at the same time it's Ramadan, so I was like, let me wear something, Ramadani kind of thing. Yes, I will save this live. Let's look for Sabul. Let's see. From Canada. Hello from Canada. Hi, Sabul. Welcome. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm so happy to have you as my guest. Even though it's to me it's a little funny because we're no friends, and I have to be like kind of official kind of thing, but I would try my best.
Of course.
How are you, Sabul? How is everything?
I'm doing well. It has been a busy day so far, and I'm just super excited to do this with you guys. And it is
Boss,
funny
boss,
because we are friends now.
I know.
So,
Boss lady, you're always working. Every time I talk to her, she's working weekends, nights. If you work with her, make sure, you will see. She gets things done. Even if you call her at midnight, I don't know. Don't you sleep or?
I try my best, and if I'm awake and I can respond, I respond to you guys. So that's how I do it.
Perfect. So I was just telling our audience a little bit about you, I need to tell them first how we met. Do you want to tell them the very
Yeah,
first time?
sure.
Yeah,
The
let's do it.
We met. Raja was actually looking for a daycare for her kids, and my mom and I co-own a daycare out of my house. So Raja came to tour the daycare, and we kind of just met, and I felt like we instantly connected. We had a lot to talk about, and ever since then, we were talking about doing a podcast.
Oh my God, it's been, I don't know, like 1 year and a half or something. It's been really, really long
A
time.
year and a half, yeah. It's been some time.
Awesome. And then second story when we actually became friends is, I was like, who do I know good in real estate? I was like, oh, that girl, she seemed like really smart. I'm just gonna ask her about rent. I was like, hi, Cebu, I'm so done with my landlord. I want something to rent. And she was like, you should own. I'm like, girl, I don't know. I don't have 50,000 something with me.
You know, it was like 11 p.m. at night, and I was like, Roger, look, if you just fill out this application, we'll see what we can do, and hopefully you can own over renting. And sure enough, Raja filled out the application. and, and I talked to her. I had her on the phone while I was working on her application, probably until like late into the night, until 12 p.m.
Oh
And it
my,
was just like I
oh
was
my
like,
God.
Roger, we can do this.
Oh my God, that's so, this is what I like about you and your team, Subul, honestly, is the fact that you are on it and you make things happen in a second. Like let's say, just generally speaking, doing business with anyone in life, sometimes we hear great opportunities and you can do the job, but you're just too lazy to. I've seen people who you give them a month and they never get anything done. While when I just mentioned this, We worked on it that night. I was like, wait a second, do I have hope? Yeah, you have. Where's my laptop? Where is my laptop, everybody? And then she called like her friends, and everybody's like all of the sudden in front of their computers at like midnight.
Oh my God, you're too kind. I just feel very passionate about putting people into houses. So if you asked me to do anything else at 11 p.m. at night, I probably would not do it. But
Maybe
this is
maybe buying another house.
yes.
Inshallah. Perfect. So now let's start like kind of not very serious. I don't like to be very serious, but could you introduce yourself to our audience? And
Of course, yes. I am Sabul Khan, VP of Mortgage Lending with Guaranteed Rate. We are actually the top mortgage company in the United States. So I'm super happy to work there and super happy to be a part of the team at Guaranteed Rate because we have this thing, we get things done. So
for sure.
that's great. I have 6 years of mortgage experience now. I got into the business when I was just 18, and I've really found a passion from home ownership and helping people get into houses. And yeah, that's me, but basically.
Perfect. And I remember you shared a story with me. If you're comfortable sharing it with our people, our friends, what makes you so passionate about helping people, buy their homes?
Of course. So, my homeownership journey that I was telling you the other day very informally over the phone, but I, my family never owned a own home growing up, right? So I actually never even thought it was possible to own a home, or had never even thought about it, honestly, if I'd be very, very frank with you, until I was 18. And due to unfortunate circumstances with my dad passing away, I had this like responsibility of my family and helping support, for a little while at least, until my mom got more stable and we started doing better.
Mashallah.
I had this responsibility, and we were paying rent, and it was like 1750, which at that time, 6 years ago, guys, I know now it might not sound like a lot, but at that time it was like, oh my God.
I know.
And my and I was making like $14 an hour from my first job. So like if you do the math, like my rent is more than what I'm making in a month. And I never even thought of the possibility to own, but somehow I was helping people on some micro level, even at that time, get into a home, right? Because of the office that I was working out of. And so I started looking at it, and I made this intention, I made this niyat, as we call it in Arabic or Urdu, to Allah, that I was like, yeah, Allah, please, just even if you get me into a 1-bedroom house with my whole family of 6, I will take it. Anything is better than paying this rent. That's 1750. It feels like such a huge, heavy, a very heavy thing on my budget. I feel like I can't do anything else because I pay rent pretty much, right?
True.
And so I made this intention one night, and then I don't know if you want to call it manifesting, if you want to call it like Allah putting things in my way.
SubhanAllah.
So things just started happening, and eventually things started to get better for me and my family, and we started looking at houses to buy. And so for a while, we couldn't find the right house. A funny part of the story is that my mom would go look at houses that were like so expensive, and I would be like, "Mom, are you crazy?" Like, I don't know who you think we are, but there's no way we can get into like $1 million house. There's
I
no way
like
we
your
can
mom,
get into
she's such a sweet lady, by the way.
She is very sweet and very ambitious. I will give her that. But she was looking at houses, and guys, I would get so upset with her. I was a little bit more serious at that time as a person, and I would get so upset with her that I wouldn't even go see these houses, because they were just obnoxious to me.
You're like, what do you mean? You want to take me to $1 million house or something?
Yeah, she was acting like we hit the lottery, or something happened, like, and I was like, no, ma'am, we cannot. at maximum we can afford like, maybe a nice condo, maybe.
Hmm.
But so as time went on, my mom's still going looking at these houses. I'm still not going with her to see these houses, but one day,
You're like, you
one
do
day,
your thing.
yeah, because sometimes I have clients who are like that now, who want houses that are more expensive than they can afford.
They're
And
approved for
I
200,000
just
and they
was
go
looking at
for
my mom. Yeah, I was looking at my mom and I was like, oh my God, she's that client. I was just like, I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to give the realtor a hard time. When she finds something she likes, we'll think about it, right? So she continues, and one day, she comes home and she was like, "Oh, I really like this house." But what really got me was the reaction of my
Mhm.
siblings. And they came home and they were like, "Baji, this is a house for us. This is our dream home."
And
And
how
I'm
old
like,
are your siblings? Just so people know, like how old are your siblings? I know, but
so
I just want them to
at
know.
that time, I think one was like 10 or 11, and the other one was like 13,
Oh,
14. So they're pretty young, but they were going on these house tours with her in retrospect. So they had seen these $1 million houses. And
now they're
so
used to
I'm
it. They're
like,
like,
yeah, they're used to them. And I'm like, well, I don't know what it is about this house, but it's on the lower end. It's still pretty delusional, but it's on the lower end of what they've been seeing. And so I go and I'm like, okay, fine, like let's go take a look. I was a little
Mhm.
grumpy. I was like, okay, let's go take a look. And so we go and we really like the house, but our maximum pre-approval was $515,000 and nothing more, like
Mhm.
a cent above. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. After we moved in for a while, a lot of our rooms didn't have furniture, so
It's okay. And that time you were like you and your mom were working together, just so people
yes,
kind of have. Okay.
we were working together. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and we weren't working like crazy good jobs or anything, but we were starting to get, like, I had gotten promoted at work, and things were starting to get better around that time.
Alhamdulillah.
So, yeah, alhamdulillah. The house was listed at like 579 or something. I don't even remember at this point, so I'll have to fact check myself, but it was listed in the higher fives, and you would not believe it. It was a 45-day long negotiation. Somehow things happened in the world. COVID happened, people got scared, they wanted to sell, and after a 45-day long negotiation, we were finally able to settle on the price of the house for
Wow.
515. And the craziest thing was, for those 45 days, and even after those 45 days until we closed, you would not believe it. It's just so funny when I tell people now, or even when my mom tells people.
Yeah.
But we would come outside the house because it's only like 5 minutes from my other house. So we would come outside the house, be like, "Ya Allah, please give us this house. Ya Allah, please give us this." I mean, every
That's so
single
cute.
day, sometimes multiple times a day. And then, like, my grandma would read Ayatul Kursi and she'd blow around the house with
Oh,
that.
that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was really like, it was really something we had never imagined,
Subhanallah.
and the fact that it happened, alhamdulillah, is still so surprising to me sometimes.
Subhanallah.
Because I walked in and I'm like, this is my house.
Mashallah. And so what's the size of your house just for our, I know, mashallah, it's so beautiful and so big.
Alhamdulillah. So it's 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. I
Mashallah.
swear to God, I had only prayed for like 1 bedroom,
Subhanallah.
maybe a studio. But alhamdulillah, yes, it's quite big. And it's still a lot of getting used to after having lived in small apartments for most of our lives.
Mashallah.
Like, I look at my laundry room sometimes, and it's just, the idea is so baffling that my laundry room is bigger than most of the bedrooms that I had in my childhood growing up.
Oh,
And
subhanallah.
it still makes me feel some type of way when I'm sometimes doing laundry. I'm like, oh wow,
You're like, I am
alhamdulillah.
rich.
I wish I was rich, but it's
Mashallah.
just praise be to Allah. I think leading with thankfulness is the most important thing in life, right? At least
True.
because the more thankful you are, the more you can appreciate things, and the more it betters your quality of life. So that
Wow.
makes my
I just
house.
love I just love this story. I told my mom, she almost cried. She's like, "Oh, she's such a girl. She's just so sweet. You know, you should be friends with her." I'm like, you're 24, right? I'm 36, going to be 37. Mashallah, I can't believe how wise you are. I wish all young kids, not you're not a kid, I'm sorry. It's just because old people like me, I used to call in 20 years old, like, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, you're not old, Raja, so
Yeah.
I, I
I'm
I sometimes forget that you're older than me, so
Who told? I'm actually just 18.
I know it feels like it.
Thank you, thank you. So since I purchased my just last week, I can't believe I'm still like in that, in that mode. I'm like, I can't believe this is my space. Oh my God, I own it. And yeah, thank you. And for real, like if it was not because of you, I would just be renting right now because I always have the idea of owning a place, but I was kind of waiting until I am so rich that I buy like I don't know what. Like in the meantime, like okay, I'm just gonna be renting for a few years. It's fine. But I like the fact that you make things happen and you're so passionate about your work. Yeah, she right away got me pre-approved for like certain amount of money. I was like, no, are you serious? And then she called her agents and she called like lawyers. I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. Are you for? I'm like, wait a sec, I don't have money, but I'm gonna sell my car. I can sell my clothes. I can wait for my tax, whatever. I'm just gonna make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, also props to you, right? Because you were willing to take that risk because you were also in a tough situation.
Sure.
And so, a lot of power to you for that, But alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, I'm so happy that, you're in your house and you have that
Yeah.
feeling. It's, yeah, the best feeling in the world.
Perfect. Thank you. So, yeah, so we learned, our audience learned about you. I did already, but it's always a pleasure to hear your story again. But since I bought my condo, I got hundreds of questions about home ownership, like, I know people who have really good jobs, like way better than mine, better than my income. And I'm sure they would be qualified for like, but they're still scared of like home ownership, about the process, and they think, oh my God, like they thought that I'm so rich. I'm like, no, no, I am just like a beginner. I just started my job last year. But how does it, can you just give us an idea about what you can do, your team? Do you work in only in Chicago? Just like general, what you would tell your new clients.
Yeah, so guys, one, you do not have to be super rich to buy a house. That's a very common misconception, and another misconception that follows all the time is that you have to put 20% down, which, is also a myth, and you don't have to put 20% down to buy a house. The minimum down payment requirements are between 3 and 5% for most loans. So I'll start with that. And then the other thing that I always like to encourage my clients and tell them, very similar to how I told Raja when she was asking me to rent, was that you just have to see where you stand, right? Maybe you're
Mm.
not in a perfect place to buy now, but 6 months later, you almost most likely always can be, right? It does not matter if you have bad credit. It does not matter if you don't have money saved up. You just need to have a little bit of faith in order to just start the process, see where you are in terms of your whole financial health in determining how much you qualify for, right? And you have to take the first step in order to set the stone for for the future, right? For some people, even with a bad credit score, even with like very little in savings, they are able to do it right away, just based on on different qualifying risk factors. And for some people, it's just that you have to fix certain things or save up a certain amount of money, right? But if you think about it, buying a house, I always like to tell my clients, is not a crime. You know,
No, right?
you are supposed to, like, it's like the most basic thing, right? It's the
True.
biggest purchase of life, but it's the most basic thing. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to grow up, I'm going to graduate school, I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to get married, right?
All
It's
right.
one of those
Yeah.
things. So don't think that you'll be penalized for trying to buy a house, because that is something that's very normal, very common, and something that you should be doing, right? Taking the first step at least. Secondly, about states, I am licensed in Illinois. However, my company is licensed all over the United States,
Mhm.
and the test that I took to become a mortgage broker is for all states. I just have to like submit a quick application and I can get my license in whatever state you're listed in. So and then I just see a really quick comment for what about green card holders. Green card holders can also purchase a home. So if you are green card I-10, if you don't have a job, if you don't have documents, I have a lot of different loan programs for a lot of different types of loans and a lot of different types of situations. So yeah, that's a little bit in a nutshell about what I like to see on an application. If I had to give like three really quick pointers about what you should work on in order to buy a house, I'd say credit, income, assets. If you're just trying to purchase something very soon and quick, make sure your credit score is at least above 600. You have somewhat money saved up. You know, it doesn't have to be like thousands and thousands of dollars. Between $3,000 to $5,000 is enough, believe it or not. And then in terms of income, just knowing that you have a good job or that you have a job offer letter.
Oh, so you can use that too if you have a job offer letter?
Correct. So if you are a student that just graduated, you know, college, and you have an offer letter for a job, you are able to use that to qualify.
Perfect. One very important question still in this topic. What about the difference between people having W-2s or self-employment? What's the minimum period of employment basically you need to apply?
Yeah, so if we're going to use your self-employment income, we usually need to see 2 years of history for your employment, for your self-employment. So your company must have been started 2 years ago. However, that for a lot of business owners is not a very attractive option because it comes with a lower interest rate. However, a lot of times business owners don't like to claim income on their taxes because, you know, then they have to go ahead and pay taxes or they haven't made enough income. You know, everyone does the math differently. But I do have options where we could go off of just your bank statements to see how much income is coming in. And we could go off of just your 1099s to see how much income is coming in. So there's a lot of options, even for business owners, even though it is not the standard, you know, W-2 job income type of situation.
Perfect. Let me, I'm trying to remember other questions. I had like thousands of questions
Of course. Take your time.
in the process. So you said like, oh, there's a grant, the student loan forgiveness grant. Is that only for people living in Chicago, in Illinois in general, or do you have an idea?
Yes. So it was just in Illinois, and we just ran out of funds like early last week.
Oh, wow.
Or
Okay.
the 25th of last month. So on 25th of February, we ran out of funds for that program, but there was a great program through the state of Illinois where we were state of Illinois where we were paying off $40,000 in student debt for people who were students, and we were also helping with $5,000 towards your down payment assistance. So to help with closing costs or other things. I can look into what that looks like for other states and let you know, so you could share with people if there is a program
Sure.
like that. But we have also run out of funds for that program, and I will let you know when it's back up.
Awesome. You know, from your experience, Subul, as a mortgage lending officer, I hear many people saying that your what do we call it? Your like your monthly payment increases with the time. Is it like, is it the insurance or the bank? Could you give us an idea? And also property taxes, if they are added to your monthly payment, or just give us an idea if that's okay.
Yeah, so normally if you do the minimum down payment, which is like the 3% to the 5%, the bank requires you to escrow your property taxes and insurance. And what that means is that every month when you make your mortgage payment, the bank collects a certain amount and puts it away in a different account, and saves up for your taxes. So that's like called an escrow account, right? They take your insurance and your taxes every month, and then when it's due, because taxes are due at least in Cook County every 2 times a year, they go ahead and they make the huge payments, so you don't have to go pay like 2,500 out of the blue or vice versa. Now, a lot of times, yes, your mortgage payment can go up, but it can also go down. So it plays, a lot of different factors play into it, right? Like if you live in an area where the property taxes go way higher next year, then yes, your mortgage payment is going to go a little bit higher because your escrow account is going to start to run out of money to put towards your taxes. So
Okay.
they're going to say, okay, Raja, for example, your taxes were $1,000 a year. Now they are $2,000 a year. And in order to account for that, we're going to be charging you $100 more every month. But they
Okay.
send you notifications before they do that. And they keep you in the loop for all of that.
Okay.
Same goes with insurance. Insurance also over time tends to increase, not as fast as taxes do, of course. But insurance every year can go up or down also by like a couple of $100s. So the impact on your payment would probably be like 50, $60 here and there.
Okay.
But that's what it looks like. Now, when we come to talking about lowering your payment over the course of time, it could also be that your payment gets lowered because you get yourself added to the homeowner's tax exemptions, which are available in Cook County. And then there's also a PMI on mortgages. So if you're on an FHA mortgage, your PMI is for the life of the loan. But if you refinance and you go into a conventional mortgage, then you can most likely get rid of that PMI because your equity in the house has increased. So that's a little bit of a breakdown. It's very I feel very nerdy talking about this stuff so
No,
deeply,
this is so good. I am learning more like with you too. And people are so interested in this topic. My friend Tuha Beauty, she's like, so there will be no major separate payments for taxes at the end of the year, or is it like a monthly thing?
Correct. So if you escrow your taxes, there is no major separate payment for taxes at the end of the year. That's the whole point of escrowing. Because imagine, property taxes are high, and then you get hit with, oh, you have to pay 2,500 every year. For most people, that's like a lot to manage,
True.
right? Out of the blue, kids and expenses, and so on and so forth.
Perfect. Um, like about refinancing, many people ask me about, let's say I bought a house or a condo today. My credit was not perfect. My job was just okay. If I wanna, so two questions, like after how long can I refinance my current loan?
Yes.
Second, for a FHA loan, I know that it's only for first-time home buyers, where you get like 3 to 3.5% of down payment. So can a person use that loan again, FHA for second home, and what's the
So
conditions?
yes. Under certain circumstances, you can, but they have to be very specific circumstances. So one of the requirements is that it has to be 100 miles from your other home. But a perfect example where you'd be able to use an FHA loan again would be, let's say your job switches, right? And you were working from one end of the city to the other end, or like even a different state. You can then get an FHA loan because your job has changed. You have the documentation to show that, and it makes sense why you need to move from there to here. As far as refinancing goes, most loans you could refinance within 6 months of being in them.
Mhm.
However, it's more about how feasible it is for you to refinance, meaning it depends a lot on the market and the rates and your motivation to refinance.
Mhm.
So a lot of times people will refinance a very low rate into a higher rate because they're trying to remove someone from the property title, right?
Oh,
Because they're going through a divorce. Yeah, it happens all the time. They're going through a divorce. They're not on good terms with their family anymore. XYZ. So I've seen a lot of people refinance from like a 2% to like a 7% just because they want to get that over with,
they're
right?
like, I'm done with you. I better pay more interest than.
Yeah, and the refinances are also done to lower rates, right? But
Yeah.
that's highly dependent on the market because let's say we close you at a 6% rate, and 6 months later the rate is still at 6%. That motivation for you to refinance is not really there because
True.
you're not really going to be benefiting from it too much, and there's always a cost associated with refinancing. And then the third time people like to refinance is when they want to take cash out from their property. So let's say this is 5 years later, and now you've owned your home, you've made some payments, and now your house, like you bought it at 200, and now it's worth 250. And so you want to travel, you want to buy a car, you want to buy another property, you could do a cash out refinance and take some of the equity that you've built up in the house, and use it to, do whatever you want to do with it.
Perfect.
Of course.
Wow, that's very nice. I have a question from Tuha about for investment buyer. Is it possible to get second condo based on the income generated from? Yeah, I think we spoke about this before, right?
Yes, it is totally possible to do that. If you're an investor, normally, the case is that you have to do 20% down. And that is because that is just how the guidelines are set up for investment loans. So there's a lot of different options for that. But if you, let's say today you purchased an FHA loan, and 2 or 3 years down the line, now this house is too small for you, and you want to go buy another house, that's like a single family home. It's not a condo, and it's a little bit bigger and nicer and more expensive. You can actually do that with the minimum down payment requirements because you will be living there and residing there.
Mhm.
So at that point, you can rent out your condo, you can use the income you've generated from that, and you can also go and buy your next house with the minimum amount of down payment. Because technically, when you bought that house, you lived there, and now that you're buying this new house, it makes sense because your family is growing and so on and so forth.
Now, I have a question. It might be like a little funny.
Yeah.
Let's say I buy just person, X person. I bought a condo, and then like next year you get a better job, better income. Then you tell them this is too small for me, and then I use FHA loan to get a townhouse or something. Then 2 years later, I'm like, I want something even bigger. They're gonna be like, go away. Do you want to keep doing this?
You know, life is always changing, right?
Hmm.
And guidelines, and mortgage people do have equations and risk factors in place for that,
Yeah.
right? Because if it makes sense, if when you bought the condo, you only had one child, and then you bought the townhome, and now you have 3 kids, and then you buy this
And you
other big house, and
have
now you
7 kids.
have 5 kids, right? Or
You're like,
let's say
okay.
your parents came from back home and now they're living with you,
Mhm.
or your siblings, or whatever the situation is. As long as it makes sense,
True.
we normally are able to work with you to get you into what you need.
Perfect. Thank you. One more thing that I didn't know and I learned with you guys is you need to just avoid cash, right? What about many
Yeah.
people save tons of cash? And then where did you get
Yes.
this money from? I don't know. I just saved it at home.
Yes, so cash is considered very I don't know what the correct term is right now for it, but it's considered very questionable. And the reason
Mhm.
for that is when you get a loan, we are basically assessing your risk factor. And if you are getting like a huge deposit of, $10,000 or even $4,600, um, they're going to ask where it came from, and the reason why they ask is because they want to determine that you didn't go out and take a loan from someone, right?
Mhm.
So the story totally makes sense that, like, if you were buying a house and you, as my friend, asked me for $5,000 and you were like, Sabul, I'll pay you back, right? I would give it to you.
What
And
if
so
your what if your rich fiance gave you 20,000 gift? I'm like,
yes,
this is
so
a gift.
gifts are perfectly fine. And so gifts are perfectly fine, but gifts would be like bank transfers, right? I
Okay.
have to sign a document saying I, Sabul Khan, am giving Raja Mustafa, X amount
Yeah.
of money. And so it gifts are perfectly fine. But if we just see like a large deposit in your bank account, it's very alarming because we don't know if that is debt or not, right?
Okay.
Because a lot of people will go out and I don't know if Moroccans have this, but Pakistani people have this thing called a BC where we all pull together
Oh
money.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Tons of cash.
it's technically, yeah, tons of cash. Like it shows up in our bank accounts, right? Like it's $10,000, but really we are paying every month towards it,
True.
right? And so that's exactly the reason why the bank wants to know if a large deposit is coming from something like that or not, because it affects your debt to income ratio and everything else.
Perfect. I think Tuhashi has. I think I had the same. We went through kind of same thing about tax returns. How about if a candidate was saving her taxes returns for home down payment?
That's perfectly fine as long as you have all of the documentation. So it's completely fine if you sell like your gold jewelry, if you sell your car, if you sell your liver, kidney. I'm joking, guys. As
Wait,
long as
take
you
my
have
kidney. I want a home.
as long as you have the documentation to show what you sold, in order to get it, or sometimes people even have money back home in properties, right? And
Oh
they
yeah.
sell it when buying a house here. So as long as you have sufficient documentation to show where you got the money that you got from, then you're 100% fine.
Perfect. We have a question here. Is there specific loans for nurses?
There are not specific loans for nurses, unfortunately, but there are specific loans for doctors, and doctors are able to buy houses with 0% down most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh, I should have
Yeah.
become a doctor.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits for doctors specifically. For nurses, not there's not too many, out of the blue like programs that are out there. There might be certain banks that have specific programs, but there's no like standardized programs for nurses. Unfortunately, we love you guys.
Perfect. What about Subul? I kind of know, I learned from you just for our audience, like the buyer is always responsible for down payment and closing costs. And also if you can give us like an idea about how much you have to pay, give an example of a house, I don't know, 300,000 house or something.
So the for closing costs, we ask you to estimate between 2 to 3%, and based on your situation, you might be able to get like a down payment assistance. So for the state of Illinois, as long as you have 640 above, I can qualify you for a down payment assistance program, and it's like that in many other states as well. So that would help you with your down payment, assistance and your closing costs. But for an FHA loan, 3.5% of it has to come from you no matter what. So just easy math is to pull out your calculator, and if you want to buy a house that's $300,000, you just do 300,000 times 3.5% for an FHA loan, and you could go from there. Now, if you are in a little bit better of a place where you have better, like 700 plus credits, and you have a little bit of money saved up, you can normally also do 3% down with a conventional loan.
Perfect. That's and yeah, so
And then
that's very good.
another thing I'll add here,
Yes,
sorry
sure.
to cut you
Yeah.
off, is that you can also have your realtor negotiate seller credits for you, right? And what that means is that the seller will give you a credit when for purchasing the house, right? So you can just oh my god, I'm losing my train of thought.
It's okay.
but but when you get a seller credit, that also counts towards that 2 to 3% of your closing costs. So if you get a credit of like $10,000, we apply that to your down payment, and the money, the cash that you have to bring on the final day, will be lower than what it would be if you had to pay from all of that out of pocket.
Perfect. I'm just gonna talk about this point one more time because I see it's very important. The grant for down payment and closing costs. Is it up to 7,000?
It's
So
up to 10,000 actually. There's different ones. So there's one that's 6,000, there's one that's 7,500, there's one that's 10,000. And in certain counties and certain situations, you can even get up to 25, 30,000. So
wow.
it really varies. Yeah.
And is it like a state grant or is it like all over the US?
So it's based off of different counties. So for us, Cook County has different ones, Will County has different ones, DuPage County has different ones. But honestly, I will say that a lot of these grants are really just based on personal circumstances, right? Something that applies to me will not apply to you, and so on and so forth. But
Okay.
if you have, yeah, the best way to find out is always to apply,
Okay.
because a lot of times these grants also have like limiting factors like income limits. So
Okay.
if you make above like 75,000, you don't qualify for the grant anymore, right?
Okay.
But there's a lot of ways to work the numbers in a smart way to work with what you have saved up or what you don't have. So for that, I just recommend that you reach out. And I could look at and I could look into 100% of what grants you can get in what state you are in, and so
Okay. So let's say if one of our, Instagram family members want to buy a home and they reach out to you, so you check that for them if
yes,
to see what they are eligible for.
yes.
Perfect. One more question. Let me know if you're tired and maybe I can talk more. I'm just like
Of
asking
course,
so many.
keep on hitting me. I got you guys.
Perfect. So do you have to be full-time in your last W-2 to be qualified?
You do not have to be full time. However, your part time income should be there for 2 years as well, and should be sufficient enough to cover the mortgage. So let's say you work part time, and for the year you make $80,000 just working part time because you have a special job, right? That is okay if you want to qualify for a house, right? But if you want to buy a more expensive house and your part-time income cannot support your mortgage, then you most likely will have to go find a full-time job.
Perfect. And what's your basis, for example, to qualify someone for a certain amount of a home price? Like is it like do they have to make like half the mortgage, the monthly mortgage payment? How does this work?
So a good rule of thumb is if you want to qualify for a mortgage payment that's $3,000, you have to make $6,000. Now that comes with a little bit of leeway with different types of loan programs, right? And different types of risk factors based on your file. and based off of what your total risk factor is, because sometimes you could go a little bit higher if you're in really good, like if you have a really good credit score, but sometimes you can't go as high. So again, it comes down to more of like an individual level. But a good rule of thumb is that if you want a payment that's like $3,000, you have to make at least $6,000 to support that payment.
Okay. And that's taken into consideration also if they have any debts, like basically just the remaining income they have after paying all of their stuff.
Correct. So
Right?
that's their income after paying all of their debts.
Yeah.
So any credit cards, car payments, anything that's reported on your credit, basically student loans, all of that stuff being factored in your income after that. Thank you for reminding me that, Raja. You're a pro now.
No, I am learning with you because I'm starting. I think I should learn more about this and do this as a high side hustle, maybe.
Hey, I told you you'd be good at it.
You never know. Let me see. I saw a question here. Da-da-da-da. If we are saving money for purchase, what's the proof of down payment amount? I think it's just the same thing. I feel like it just like we
Yeah.
have the course. Yeah.
If you're saving money over a long period of time, let's say you save money over the period of 1 year from every paycheck, you took out, sometimes $500, sometimes $300, and you have that in cash. We just need to be able to document that the story you're telling us makes sense. And so that is what it would be to source money that you've saved.
Perfect. What's your advice, Sabul, to anyone wanting to buy a home soon in general?
My advice in general is just to apply. Please apply. You don't even have to apply with me, just apply with someone.
No, apply with
Because
her. But
apply with me. Apply with me if you think we'd be a good fit to work together. But jokes aside, applying just tells you where you fall on the spectrum, right? And it'll tell you if we can see any big red flags, like, for example, your credit is not where it needs to be, or your income is not where it needs to be, or your debt is too high. We will just be able to tell you, hey, basically, Raja, you need to work on X, Y, and Z, and then you'll be able to buy a house, right? And knowing that ahead of time is very important, because you don't want to have to deal with paying down extra debt when you're not ready for it, when you're like, okay, let me get up and buy a house, right? Just find out where you stand in the process, and go from there. Is the best advice that I could give anyone looking to buy a house soon, especially. Because if you identify the red flags, we'll be able to help you identify them and tell you how to work on them.
And by the way, she did that with me too. When I started this process, I was like, okay, what's that? What's this account? I see an account. So before even like getting approved, I paid off anything that's kind of, you know, presenting an obstacle in my home ownership journey. I was like, wait a second, who put this? I'm like, I was like paying, removing, paying, removing. So that's
Yeah, and it's important because it also helps you overall, right? Even just for
sure.
not the purpose of buying a home, but now that you want to go buy anything else, you want to take out a new credit card, that's gonna help your overall situation just altogether, even if you don't end up buying a house, right?
Sure.
I really show up every day to help you guys get into a better financial situation. So don't feel like if you ever want to reach out that you're bothering me, or you're getting in the way of something. No, I am here for you. I will walk you through. I will take the time to walk you through, like, hey, if you pay off this thing, your credit score is going to go up by X amount of points. And yeah, we're here for you.
Perfect. We have another question here. We're almost as I told you, it's gonna be 1 hour. I know we are fasting, but for sure. But But I just want to remind our people who are watching us right now, our audience, that this live is gonna be saved, and please feel free to reach out to Sabul. She's an amazing person to work with, and you see, even in our live, she's like very generous with her questions. So for me, I really recommend working with her and her team. Plus, her bank is one of the best in the U.S., if not the best. Really, I think. Is it the best or one of the best? Let's
It,
the
it,
best.
it is we are one of the top mortgage banks, and that's
Perfect.
me trying to be humble, but we do top fall short within the number one in the United States all the time. So yes, our bank, one of the biggest reasons why I can do as good as I do is because my bank takes a lot of the stress off of my plate, and we have such great technology that we don't even have to do a hard pull on your credit to qualify you, right?
That's very good
um
point.
yeah.
That's really good actually to actually at least know before getting affected.
Yeah, so you're not even going to get affected for inquiring about a mortgage. And that's just one of the many reasons why I love working at Guaranteed Rate. We can normally close a loan in as soon as 7 days, which is as fast as the government will legally allow us, by the way. But it's a good group of people all around. People in front of you, people behind you, everyone just really wants to make sure that you can get into a house, and I love it here.
Perfect. And I want to add, is it like only because you are super nice to me and you're my friend, or is it with everybody?
No,
When I spoke,
it's with everybody.
no, no, I'm talking about, I'm really grateful. No, of course, your bank is amazing and you're, very good to work with. But I really appreciated the fact that you right away you had agent to talk to, you had a lawyer, you had everyone, even not really working with you guys. So is it something do you do with the guaranteed rate does with all the clients or?
Yeah, so honestly, as long as you're with someone from Guaranteed Rate, I can tell you that you're in really good hands. That we're just again an amazing company all around. A lot of times I do things where I run into clients who I'm like, "Hey, are you pre-approved?" And they're like, "Yeah, I have an approval with so and so at Rate." And I'm like, "Okay, you're in good hands, right?"
Perfect.
As far as the service level goes, every individual kind of, because this is kind of like owning our own book of business, like we find
Mhm.
you guys and we are responsible for how we show up and take care of you guys, right? And everyone has their own different way of doing it. I like to have a resource book and a resource guide for, hey, if you need insurance, if you need a lawyer, if you need a
That's
real
good.
estate agent, if you need, someone to come pick up your grass because you wanted to cut off all your trees. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the resources and people that I trust.
Hmm.
And I know, one, work honestly, which is really important, right? Two, will make sure that you're not, that are actually really good at doing what they do, and will make sure that in any way, shape, or form, you are not missing out or anything is also really important to me. So
Perfect.
yes, when I recommend people to you, I try to make sure that they are people who are very well vetted and very well, all around.
Perfect. Thank you
For
so
sure.
much. I think we're gonna take two more questions and then maybe just like a final conclusion. But
Okay.
we will definitely have more lives, inshallah, if you're available, of course.
Of course.
Um,
I am here
inshallah.
for Raja and all of Raja's followers.
Thank you, thank you. This person, Khalid, he's like, if you work 1099, what's the minimum income in your taxes? I think he means to purchase a home or to be qualified.
So honestly, I cannot give you a straightforward answer for that because it depends on how much of a home you want to qualify for. And it also depends on how much debt you have being reported to your credit. So
Okay,
if you want to find out what that number is, I can tell you what that number is. Just shoot me a message anywhere. I know I've been getting a lot of Instagram DMs and text messages and emails, so I have been trying to do my best to respond to all of you guys. I think so far I have responded to all of you guys, so if you shoot me a message anywhere, I will get back to you.
perfect. Thank you so much, Sabul. Thank you for your time and for being so generous with your answers. That's helping me too because I'm also learning about this journey a little more. You're welcome. Yeah, there's somebody just he said something. I was like, "You're welcome." So, what's your final? What do you want to tell our audience? Anyone watching us right now? And yeah, just your something you want to say.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would like to say is believe in yourself and just take the first step, guys. The first step, whether that's looking at a house, whether that's applying for a mortgage, just believe in yourself. And when you put that energy out there, I really believe in my soul that the world conspires to make it happen. It's a very cliche quote that's thrown a lot around, a lot, but
No, actually, it's real. That's true. Actually, your intentions and
you just said the niyat, your intention, in your mind, and then it happens. So all you have to do, like, is what 99% of the people aren't doing, and that's just show up and try. And as long as you do that, you'll get somewhere.
Yep. Thank you so much, Subul. Thank you for your inspiring story with your family. I had so much fun in this live, and I just felt like we are just having coffee somewhere and chit-chatting while our friends are with us, basically just grabbing their coffees and walking with us.
Except
So
it's Ramadan and we're not drinking
I
coffee.
know, like after iftar, after iftar.
Yes, yes. We have to do that again. We have to go out and get coffee again.
Definitely, for sure. Thank you, Subul, one more time. Say thanks to your mom.
Of course.
Because of her, I got to meet you. And inshallah, we'll have more lives. And just we're gonna have our podcast very soon. So we're not gonna say anything about it until it happens. But at least you have the idea, everyone.
Inshallah, inshallah, yes. And thank you so much, Raja, for having me, for trusting me, first of all, with the biggest purchase of your life. That is truly like an honor. And I think we still tell each other this every day, but I
I know.
really do. And then
Thank you.
to Raja's followers, all of those of you guys who have followed me, I really appreciate it. All of you guys who are also putting your trust in me, I also really appreciate that. And I promise I will start making some good mortgage content very soon. And as Raja said, we are working on a podcast together. So we're super, super excited about all of these things. And we're here for you guys. So thank
Perfect.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Subul. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye.